Hi, and welcome to the No Experience. I'm Cherie No, obviously. And today, y'all, oh my God, I just went down a rabbit hole and I figured, what am I gonna do with that information? I'll make a video. So let's just get right into the video. Okay, so why am I talking about South Korea's low birth rate? Well, lately it's been on the news a lot more, and like a couple days ago, there was talk again on the news about new initiatives that the Korean government was thinking about doing in order to help increase the low birth rate. So I thought, I'm going to do a little research on this, and just out of curiosity, and I'm not kidding when I said I just went down this crazy rabbit hole.
What do I find out, man? What do I find out?
I'm gonna try to make this video a way that you understand and is not all over the place, because I sometimes get that way. Anyway, there were several new studies that came out showing that in the year 2020, South Korea has become the country with the lowest birth rate in the world. When I first moved to South Korea, I did notice something strange. And I mentioned it to my husband, I think one time, maybe 6 months after I moved here. I remember looking at him and saying, I haven't seen any pregnant women. And he just goes, oh, yeah, well, they're around. So I didn't really think much more about it. But as time went on, I really noticed I didn't see pregnant women. Like, in America, seeing where I'm from, I'm originally an Oregonian, you see pregnant women all the time. It is not a strange, it's as common as rain in Oregon, right? So I noticed this more and more and more the longer I lived here. So when this study and this information came out, I was shocked, but also not. Going back to the information, just a couple little stats for y'all geniuses out there. In 2020, because of the pandemic, there was a sharp decrease in the amount of marriages that happened in South Korea. Obviously. However, it has been continuing to decline for several years. The rate in South Korea as of 2020 was 0.4. And in 2019, it was 0.92. Big cities like Seoul and Busan have even lower birth rates, and that's because there is a much larger population of young, unmarried people that live in those larger cities. The other problem? Deaths in South Korea outnumber the births. That's not the right direction to be going, South Korea.
And also,
A quarter, 15 minutes?
rewind.
And you might be wondering, okay, is it really that important that the birth rate is so low? Yeah, it is. Because now a much higher spending rate for welfare services, medical expenses for the aging population, and there is not enough of the younger working class to reinforce the financial spending. So if no new younger people are putting into the social services, then eventually that will cause a economic decline for the country. Oh my God, y'all, my husband just called me a video call on my phone, and it completely erased all of the footage that I just took about this. So now I have to start over. So if I seem a little flustered, that's why. All right, let's try this part again. I'm going to be talking about why there is such a low birth rate in South Korea. So one of the issues in South Korea is that there's a huge, intense pressure when it comes to going to college and getting a good job. There's pressures like that in America too, but not to the level that South Korea has. South Korea young population has a high suicide rate, and this is one of the reasons. When it comes to the low birth rate, young people have an intense pressure to go to college, for one thing. There's actually a one day every year that all kids that are wanting to go to college have to take a college entrance exam. And the whole country shuts down so that the kids are not late getting to their college entrance exam. Everything shuts down, and it is, I hear, because obviously I've never taken this test, but I hear it's crazy hard. And also there's a lot of job competition in South Korea. The amount of competition for a good job is astronomical. So focusing on getting married and having children is at the bottom of these young people's totem poles in South Korea. Another issue that I've come across is that some experts, and I'm kind of looking at my notes while I say this, some experts point to the growing opposition among South Korean women when it comes to conforming to social standards, social norms in South Korea by getting married and having kids and caring for their aging in-laws while the husband goes out and works. So a lot of women don't want to fall into those norms in South Korea anymore, and so they're focused more on themselves, their career, taking care of their elderly parents versus getting married, staying home, raising their children, and taking care of their husband's parents while he goes to work. So there's a lot of these big reasons why marriages and having children is on the decline. Now you might be wondering, what is South Korea doing to solve this problem? Well, they are actually trying to do a couple things, though it doesn't really seem like it's working. But I'll tell you what some of them are. There's a couple different initiatives that the president has announced to encourage people to have children. One of them is that when couples have a baby, there's a one-time, and I'm looking at my notes, there's a one-time cash incentive of right now, I think they said it's $1 million won, which is about $900 US, but next year it'll actually double. So $1,800, just cash payment for having a child. Now, this is different from America, where we do have a welfare system. So if you are poor or under a certain financial threshold, then you can apply for these. This is across the board. So it doesn't matter your age or your financial status. This goes to anyone who has a child. They also have a monthly cash incentive. So for children under 1 year old, you also get 300,000 won, which is about $300 US. But Korea already, this is on top of the fact that Korea already has a 100,000 won, which is about $100 US, cash incentive per month for each child under the age of 7. So, I mean, they have a few of these incentives, but experts say that it's not really helping because the cost of raising children and paying for their college in South Korea is so high that it doesn't outweigh the benefit of a small cash payout doesn't outweigh the cost that in the future. Not to mention what kind of discrimination might come to the parents with their employment if they get pregnant, have a child. The government also has, I read, they currently have a $600 medical expense support for pregnancy, and that will also increase to $1,000. So getting pregnant alone, you'll get a cash incentive to help with your pregnancy costs. There's also, I guess, I didn't really find the specific details on it, but there is cash incentive. I still can't talk. There are cash incentives for maternity leave and other increased benefits for families with multiple children. Lastly, there is something that is kind of sketchy that also is kind of trying to combat some of this problem, but also causing other problems, is the international marriage brokers that South Korea has. So when I was I knew about this because when I was getting my own marriage visa, on the forms, it was asking about if we had a marriage broker, do we speak the same language? We had to have met at least one time in the last year and all these strange things. And I was like, what is this about? Obviously, I didn't have one. What I found about it was that it actually started back in the early 1990s to help single men in the countryside here in South Korea find wives. South Korea does have regulations on international marriage brokers, but they haven't really tightened down those restrictions as much as maybe they should because of the low birth rate in South Korea. Because Korean women don't want to get married and have children, if foreign wives are willing to come in and have children, then they can help to increase the population. So they haven't really tackled that one as much as they should. And also, there has been a lot of news recently about these women who are international wives who are abused, beaten, and there have been even some that were murdered. South Korea actually is a very safe place to live. I do have a video on that, but it's still an issue that South Korea is tackling. And, you know, on a personal note about that, if you've seen my other video, you know that I am taking Korean classes in South Korea that the government offers to international wives so they can learn their new native language. And when I first signed up for the class, and my first day in the class, we had these questionnaire forms, and I thought it was really strange at first because the questions were predominantly things like, do you feel you are being treated poorly by your community? How does your spouse's family treat you? Do they are you being treated racist? Are people hurting you? I mean, I know, like, when you apply for welfare in America, because I have done that years ago, there are a couple questions because they want to help you if you are in an abusive situation. But I'm talking, there was like 2 pages of very specific questions about this. And I was really surprised. I'm like, should I be treated differently? Because no, nobody's treating me differently. My husband's family loves me. What do you mean? Is the community saying abusive things to me? Most of my community is afraid to talk to me because they know I speak English, and Koreans are very nervous to speak English to Americans because even though their English is great, they don't get to practice it with native speakers, so they have like no confidence. So they don't really talk to me. So that's not a problem. So I was really confused by this, but again, that's because they want to make sure that these foreign wives are feeling safe and supported in their new communities, which is great. But it definitely, now that I learned more about why some of these women come to this country and how they met their husbands, I understand. So please leave comments below. Let me know what you think about this topic. What do you think maybe South Korea should do to help increase their birth rate? What maybe incentives, or should they encourage more international marriages? Just what do you think? Leave me a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, I do hope that you liked this video. If you're more interested in hearing about Korean news and things of this nature, let me know also, and I will continue to find other interesting stories to share with you about this country on a personal note. Anyway, if you like this video, again, please do hit the subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell notification so you can be notified of my future videos. And if you'd like to support the channel so I can actually get out there and show you more of South Korea, you can do so at patreon.com/theknowexperience. So until next time, my friends, stay classy, YouTube. Bye.